Russel Brand, he's here in the U.S., fresh off the Joe Rogan podcast, stops by the Bill Maher studio. An extraordinary confrontation with John Heilemann, a famous Game Change fame, in a confrontation over whether cable news, MSNBC, is just as bad as Fox News. Very smug response from Heilemann. A lot of good points that Russell brings up. Let's take a listen.
John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people.
I'd like to hear a specific example, a provable specific example of an MSNBC correspondent or anchor being on television, saying something they knew was false, and we're saying behind the scenes to people, I'm about to go out, and we know that the election wasn't stolen, or something equivalent. But I will go out on television and say the opposite. It's not about bias. It's a false equivalency because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC once, big fucking deal.
My darling, it was more.
Big fucking deal. You've been on MSNBC once. You know what I actually found insane about Heilemann's response here is, and actually even the way that we treat Heilemann today. I don't know if people know this. Heilemann started a media company. It was called The Recount, and it was a massive failure. Outside of a Twitter account where they literally clip what's going on, they raised like $30 million. They tried to start their own show, all of that, and it failed so precipitously that people barely even wrote about how much of a joke it all was. Russel Brand, you can like him or not. He has a very successful show on Rumble. He has a very successful YouTube show. Many of the numbers that he gets, he talked about this on Rogan, are far more than anybody on cable, and it's because he's willing to discuss and talk about issues of exactly where the cable news system fails. And you can also see the smugness in the way that Heilemann is confronted with the idea. He's like, oh, well, we never went on and intentionally said something that we know not to be true. How many times do we need to play the Russiagate coverage from MSNBC? Shall we play once again the Donald Trump was a KGB asset from 1987 clip? Like, how many Maddow clips do you guys want about Russian attacks on energy? All bullshit. Complete bullshit. They will never grapple with that. I almost wish that Russell hadn't brought up not just the ivermectin thing, because that was more CNN than it was MSNBC.
Yeah.
Although Maddow did get in a little bit with the retweet. I think Russiagate is where you have him dead to rights. Dead to rights.
Had the same thought. And I don't know whether the hosts at MSNBC really believed this stuff. I think it's possible that they did or deluded themselves into thinking that this was a real possibility. But it really doesn't matter whether they technically really believed it or not. They clearly were engaged in the same thing that Fox News was engaging with in Stop the Steal. They saw what their viewers wanted to hear. And so night after night after night, they spun elaborate tales of it was a Russian spy novel extraordinaire. Of course people wanted to watch it. It was action-packed. It was unbelievable. You had cliffhangers, all the rest. They knew what their audience wanted to hear. They cared about ratings. And that's the bottom line here. Look. Could you quibble and say, I think the one thing that you could say is a little bit different about Fox News versus MSNBC is that Fox News was explicitly set up to be an organ of the Republican Party effectively and to boost Republican conservative candidates. MSNBC was just a money play, just a business venture. They stumbled into liberalism and went from there. But the bottom line for both at this point is the bottom line. They need to make money. They need to justify their existence. They need to feed their audiences that they've cultivated and lied to exactly what they continue to want to hear. And so on that basic level, it's silly to quibble over which one is worse. But ultimately, they're both cancerous. They're both infotainment. They're both terrible for the American people. And they will both willingly lie to their audiences when it serves their financial needs.
Yeah, and I think it gets to exactly what we were talking about in the Fox News block where they have contempt. MSNBC just has as much contempt. They're willing to put outrageous lies on their primetime networks just because they knew that that's what their audience wanted to hear. Deceive them all the way up until the day of the Mueller report and then continue to spin after the Mueller report.
That's maybe the most important point.
Yeah.
Because maybe you could persuade yourself like, oh, they really believed this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what they leaned into. Okay, well, now we know that there was no there. Did they go back and say, here's where we got it wrong, here's that's what you would do if you made an honest mistake and you had respect for your audience and some self-respect for your supposed credentials as a journalist or an analyst. No, they didn't do any of that. If you live in the MSNBC bubble, none of what they were spinning was ever disproven. It was all just, oh, Mueller failed or whatever. They have all kinds of rationalizations for why it never actually, the P tape never actually came out. And that shows a high level of contempt for their audience, same as was revealed in those Fox News text messages.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.